Greetings, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening series in conjunction with my sister from Kumbukeni. My name, as always, is Oladele Dusum. I'm the co-founder of the Emerging Alkebulan. And what we do on our platform is, I know Frank's going to disagree with me on this one, we try to decolonize our minds and awaken our consciousness. But good evening. Nduku.
Habari gani, karibuni, asanteni kwa kuwa nasi. That is Kiubuntu, otherwise known as Kiswahili. It is what is the news? How are you? Welcome and thank you for being with us. The name is Nduku. I am the host on Kumbukeni, working with my brother to counter the false narratives that have been put out about Africa and Africans, and telling our story from our own perspectives, finally reclaiming our own stories.
Okay, as you can all see, we got our brother Franck Zanu. He's from the Zanu Project Rethink. He's going to introduce himself anyway. But Frank's going to be talking about what legacy did our ancestors leave behind? What legacy did our ancestors leave behind? Because we've had so many stories, and I don't know if you followed Frank. Frank had a viral video that basically talked about this. So I'd like our brother to actually introduce himself. If you don't mind, nice for having you, Frank. If you don't mind introducing yourself, let the audience know who you are and speak to that topic, and then we can break it down from there.
Well,
thank you for coming, my brother.
Thank you, Oladele and Nduku. It's really nice coming on the show with you two guys. I've taken a good look at your platform, and I see that you're really, really passionate about the continent where we come from, Africa, and the people who live on that continent. My name is Franck Zanu, of course, born in Benin Republic, lived in Ghana. I'm from West Africa, so I say, because, it's just the same link. Anyway, I live in the United States, from where I host Zanu Project Rethink, ZPR. People think that I have been on the internet or with the Zanu Project Rethink for more than years, but I'm only 7 months old since we launched. And it has generated a lot of conversations, both locally and, of course, outside the United States. Well, you were talking about the video that generated the conversation, which you came across. What did our ancestors leave behind? And I first would like to ask you, maybe when you put out this video, if you want to add some notes there. It seems people listen to the first 1 or 2 minutes of my question, and then they go straight to the comments. They look at what others have said, and then they add these very vitriol and toxic. I have never in any of my videos pretend to tell anyone what is. I only speak from things that I have observed. And if they make sense to me, I put them out there as a question. That's it. If I'm wrong, then somebody just please say, well, this is what I know, and therefore maybe. But I'm not here to say that I know what is right to tell Africans. No, I don't. I'm not here preaching to tell people that I have the solution that is going to change Africa. I don't. But I think I have trained myself enough to know how to question the answers we've been giving. That's all. And that's why it's called Rethink.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's I try not to let it get to me, but sometimes if we really are serious that we want to bring some solution or change some things, then we should first and foremost stop looking for people who are saying things that makes us feel flowery. We're not going to go anywhere with that. So it was yeah, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Quickly, I wanted to cut you off before you get into the meat of it. So because you started with that, and I appreciate that you started with that, and nothing is a coincidence. When I first listened to your video, I was like, what does he mean ancestors didn't leave anything behind, right? That was my first reaction. But because I now have trained myself to listen, right? I listened to the whole video as I continued to judge you. And then I came to the end, I was like, aha. And your explanation, which you will, if you don't, I will ask so that you can give it, revealed what you meant. So you're right. Sometimes we need to sit and listen before we jump to conclusions and we attack, and understand why someone is saying what they're saying. And maybe embrace the question ourselves and ask it so that we can think deeper. about what is being asked. So go ahead, brother. But thank you for starting with that.
A couple of things got me to say, whoa, this is how some cultures, and luckily for me, because of the nature of my work as a reporter, I happen to live in countries most Africans are never going to see before they die. Back in the days, 80s, when I went to Korea, you can go for a whole 6 months and not see a single black man. I used to attract crowds of people. There was no social media. There was no cell phone back then. There was no internet. So imagine, right? And when I walk to a platform, I will attract crowds of people who stand and watch. They are seeing a black man for the first time. Those were the days I was living in Asia, of all places, including Japan, where I lived for 4 years, China, Malaysia, and all that. So it gave me a deeper understanding of what people feel about their ancestors, their culture, their countries. And it began to make me question as a young man. And this is where it came from until I had that experience in 1991. And I began to say, interesting. See, when I was growing up, and when I came, especially when I arrived in the United States, every February is called Black History Month. And boy, you go to the workshops or to the celebrations, and somebody is standing on stage pointing to a cold, dead stone building in the desert somewhere in Egypt as what he is proud our ancestors left behind, a pyramid. In 2025, 4,000 years ago, till now, you're speaking to a group of young people, and the only thing you want to tell them you're proud of is that the Moors were black and they conquered Spain. These are the things. 4,000 years. I should be a young man listening to grown black people telling me this is what I should be proud of. Okay, fine. I can't see the Moors. I can't see the buildings they put up. I can't go to the pyramid. I don't like deserts. So I go on Google and I see photographs, right? Then I turn around and look into my own country, whether it's Benin, Togo, Ghana, Nigeria. And I said, you could build a pyramid 4,000 years ago. You can't provide us a public toilet. What is this? It simply means you don't have anything within your own country to point to your young ones. So you picked a dead stone building somewhere. We don't know who built it. 4,000 years ago, there was no writing. So even Africans were the ones who built it. Sorry, they did not write it down because even the Egyptians didn't have a writing. So who documented who built the pyramids? Who did? So that's where the whole thing. So that night was a true story. When this gentleman, drunk as hell, and was asking people to talk about their ancestors, he simply meant, as a young man growing up, what do you still see in your country left behind that gives you the three basic needs we all want? A good shelter, good food, and good clothing. That's it. And clothing doesn't mean the style. It means a whole lot of things. What is it? What is it in your country, if you're Nigerian, Ghanaian, Togolese, Malian, that you can see lasted even the last 100 years? What is it? If you attempt to, you make a fool of yourself in public. And then in my comments, I began to learn a lot about people, what they are saying. We started pointing to things. It's like saying, if I'm talking to somebody from Alaska, or somebody from Japan, which is what? An ocean-locked country, surrounded by ocean. What did your ancestors leave behind? Oh, they left behind ocean. We have the largest ocean. It's what we're saying. They left behind minerals. Africa has minerals. As if you created the minerals. So every response in my comment section is about things that were you just accidentally happen to be in an area where there are those things. An Alaskan wouldn't claim the ocean or snow as to what just because we have 90% of the year snow than anybody in the world. Therefore, I'm proud my ancestors created snow. So this is where the whole thing came from. And I began to look at what no school has taught us. They will never teach you. But let me share something with you, brother and sister. What I learned when I lived in Korea, what I learned, Koreans Today, you go to any place, you see Hyundai and Kia. Every 5 cars, you got to see a Hyundai or Kia, Samsung, LG, electronics, Koreans. But when you're in Korea, they never talk about those things. You know what the Koreans tell their children, both in school, at home, everywhere you go among Koreans? Do you know when they met me and they talk with me, first thing I will hear from a Korean young person, do you know we are the only Asian country, the only Asian country that has never started a war, never attacked anyone in our whole existence? And it's true. Now, Korea used to be one country, North Korea, South Korea, before it was divided in 1951. So now I'm talking to South Koreans, is what I mean. Everyone, they keep repeating this thing. They will make sure you understand that they have never. So Korea has been invaded, occupied, and colonized. The last country to colonize it was Japan for 51 years. For the last 780 times in their lifetime, Korea. The whole of Asia point to Koreans as dumb people. Yes, there's a nickname for them. But these people have been able to create a pride in Korea. You need to be among Koreans and see what I'm telling you. They eat it, and they will be telling you to know. So I began to think, and Lord, we are the only race, the largest number of countries in one continent, the only race that has never, we have done within ourselves everything anyone else has done. Yes, we've had tribal wars between and among ourselves. We've had violence in women between and among ourselves. We've imposed things on children between and among ourselves. But I'm talking about outside the continent of Africa, one largest race on earth, the most distinct, noticeable, recognizable race on earth, has never colonized a place on earth, has never invented a religion, let alone impose it on anyone outside the continent, has not imposed a language, an economic, political system, any kind. Number 2, has never gone outside its borders to buy slaves and bring it into the continent. Have we taught our children this? This is what I want you to understand. First and foremost, countries that I have visited, lived in, and learned about, the first thing they do, including the United States and including the UK, is they give their children a narrative of pride. That is the first thing a child needs. Give them something that makes them feel and know they are distinct from other people. Pride, something I can talk about. When children have that, now you set them loose to look inside themselves. You've given them a doctrine by which they can interact when they go outside, when they meet people. You've given them a doctrine about who brought them to this world, what might have caused our ancestors to have this kind of understanding about the world is deeper. And it makes the child always want to expand on this. Almost every country in the world has done something across borders, within borders, to other people. But why didn't my people do that? So pride first. Then no. What we wake up and cry on television, on radio, in writings, in books, is we were colonized. We were bought as slaves. We have neo-colonization still leaking in some corners of our countries. The French and the English are making sure they hold us down so they can prosper. This is what a child grows up in Africa to hear. And you really think any child gets motivated, inspired, smiles when he meets other people? Now, you have kept investors away because you've told investors that neo-colonization is holding you down. So if you bring your money here, we're going to waste it. We haven't gained real independence yet. You are the one informing the world. So you keep telling me you want to tell stories about you that people haven't told, the right narratives. Yet your narrative every day is that somebody is holding you down. Which sensible investor is going to go into any culture with his money and his people for people who are saying they are not free? Who will do that? Which student is going to go out and be proud to engage in a conversation with other people of different races and be able to say something and question them that the Koreans used to question me? Do you know we are the only people who never were the aggressor? We are the only people who have never started a war in the entire existence of thousands of years of Koreans. It will get the people around the table to say, are you serious? How? Wow. Yes, you're proud to say that. Oh, what do you guys have in West Africa? Oh, no. Neo-colonization is still there. It hasn't gone away. So we are not where we are supposed to be yet. So this is my drive. Yes, I started the video by saying that night, after all, the Japanese, the American, the English boy, the German, all said what? Yeah, it's true. I don't need to go out to see what they are saying in my own country. Even the language I was using that night, one of their ancestors gave it to me. If I had to introduce myself that night, Franck, one of their ancestors gave me the name. My curriculum that gave me the understanding of the world, the ancestors brought it to me. So what am I going to say here anyway? But it hit me for the first time. It wasn't something I learned in a book or I prepared myself. And I just went down the list, man. I'm a freestyle thinker. All you have to do is to hit me with the subject. The host jumped over the coffee table and hugged me. The conversation changed. You've seen Pakistan and India, 4 days of war. Over what? Kashmir. Who separated the two countries? The English. So they're cursing the English as we speak right now. You see what you left behind? It has gotten us into 3 wars in less than 100 years. The 1948 Indo-Pakistan War, the 1965 Indo-Pakistan War, the 1975 Indo-Pakistan War, the 2025 Indo-Pakistan War. All because the English didn't sit at home quietly, went somewhere and separated people into 2. And now we have the Northern Kashmir creating a war between 2 people. That's my story. So I started by saying, whoa, I'm glad this evening to look back and see my ancestors didn't leave a thing behind, and that is what makes me proud. Somebody told me that I was glorifying weakness, an African. So good luck.
And okay, you want to start?
Brother, we are going to stretch today. Today we are going to hit all the corners of possibility of thinking, and we'll do it with respect for each other. We will, and with allowing each other to think differently, because that's what helps us achieve greatness. I truly think so. So I wouldn't say my ancestors didn't leave anything, because when you explained, I'll start with that and then I'll go to a question. When you explained at the end, as you were talking about, my ancestors didn't leave nothing, right? And you talked about the plight that all other cultures have left, right? The Mongolians too. We're talking about Asia. Everywhere they've gone, some pain that they have left that people remember to this day. Ours have not left that. That I embraced that wholly. Our people are not known for causing pain globally. Like, we're not identified by that. We're identified by peace. And so for me, I would rather embrace the message that we are a people of peace and teach ancestors our children today and generations to come, we are a people of peace. But let's not confuse being a people of peace with not understanding that peace must be defended. And sometimes we may need to get violent to defend our peace. That's my stance. Because, and I also saw your message on positivity and negativity, but as I understand life and balance, I do understand that the two need to be there. And as you said, your name, Zanu, is the one who belongs to the dark, and you embrace it because you need that darkness to grow your light. So there always has to be that balance. So there's a lot regarding that. I guess let's start one step at a time. What do you think about my observations? That's how it's going to be today. It's not going to be direct questions. It's going to be statements, and let's break it down,
Oh
right?
well, you said what do I think about your observations? You haven't stated any observation yet. You
I am
said you
about
disagree
to
with
restate it.
yeah,
Yeah,
you disagree
I'm
with
about
me
to restate it.
that your ancestors didn't leave anything behind. Somebody has
Yes.
just commented here. How can we leave anything behind when our legacy was interrupted? Listen, I can
And
go down the list of countries throughout the world whose legacies were interrupted. The Koreans were one. If you are ever colonized
Chinese.
if you were ever colonized by a country that didn't have Christianity, didn't believe in God, which is the Japanese at the time, before they even became Buddhist, you know what it means. What the Japanese did in China, they used human beings in a plain cold snow for days to see how much they can take pain with no anesthesiology while they're cutting them open. Okay, they are brutal. We know that as a
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah.
Japan, before they calm them down. So Korea had an invasion 780 times. No African country has gone through that. Yet Korea, 1964, Koreans were rice farmers. Today, they are among the G20. Okay? Their legacy was interrupted. You can say so about the Chinese. The reason they built the China Wall was just because consistently the Mongolians, Manchurians, Japanese, everybody was trying to invade China. They had to build that wall. But as soon as it ended, their legacy is back up where it's supposed to be. We can go to New Zealand, Fiji Island, Australia, the United States. As soon as they arrived here and they stole their land and started to build a home, the English comes and colonize this country brutally. They have to go to war to free themselves. So everyone has had an interruption one time the other.
So for me,
Well,
it's interesting, especially when you mention the United States, because they're criminals who had invaded the land and stolen it. It wasn't theirs. So, and they were British. Those were their ancestors
what
coming to
became
take them back.
Agbome, what
Right?
became Agbome, which is now then became Dahomey and became the Republic of Benin, the Agbome tribe, which is in the movie called the Woman King. Okay?
Yes.
The Agbome, where they settled today, called Dahomey, was not their land. They came from the northern part of Togo, and they were capturing every small tribe, including my mother's tribe, wipe you away, steal your women, and create a home. They expanded. It was the French that stopped them in their tracks. So if you want to talk about somebody who stole somebody's land, everyone therefore are criminals. The
But
Ashantis
guess
didn't
what?
expand that big because they took little Ashanti tribes or Chui tribes along the way. The Chinese wouldn't go to 1.6 billion with this vast land if they just stayed home. Everyone has kicked someone away to take a land. I'm not going to call anybody a criminal. It was the order of the day. Human beings were scared of being extinct, and so you have to use everything in your toolbox to say, how do we survive? As simple as this is. The Russian Empire didn't build Russian Empire before it became the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic by just being in the little tiny home where they were.
Yeah.
I just want some.
And we do not walk around praising this as a people. We Black people don't walk around praising and upholding or hiding, right? At least those of us who are looking to return to our way, do not walk around hiding the atrocities that we have committed, or some of our ancestors, distant or close, have committed, right? And we do not praise it. We say that we need to live in a better way. We need to learn from those ways and live in a better way. No more selling our people and all that. So that's, I will call them Zungu a criminal, because it is evident through his actions to this day that they are criminals. They take what is not theirs, they spread disease, and then they create lies about people so that they can continue exploiting them. But here's the thing, my observation, so that you can speak on it. Our ancestors left us this mindset of community, and I fortunately grew up with a little of it. Now it's almost gone because we have embraced Western culture so much. But when I was coming to the United States, my father reached out to the community to help him raise money to bring me here. I came here because of community. When we were home, we ran out of salt. My grandma would say, go to so-and-so, ask for salt. Take them this, like we have an excess of harvest. Take this bag of this to so-and-so. someone had a child, take this to them. I grew up with that. And that is what our ancestors left us. Our ancestors also left us that spirit of peace. But together with that spirit of peace, the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, the Mau Mau, the Zulu warriors, they all left us that legacy of you must fight for that peace. And especially the Zulu warriors, they also taught us, and the Mau Mau, they also taught us that taking life is not a thing that we are about. But when we are forced to take life, we must cleanse so that we don't bring that bad energy to the community before we return to community to continue our activities. So there's a lot of wealth that our ancestors have left us, positivity. But just like the Jews do, just like China does, right? All those people, just like the Indians do, we must remember those who have invaded and caused pain to us so that we don't allow it to happen again. So we can teach our children positivity and negativity as well. So I'll let you speak to that.
Well, I don't know what is negative, whether you fight against invasion or not. Every country fought against invasion. It's not just the Zulus who fought against. The Zulus didn't fight white people. That's not how the Zulus started. Chaka the Zulu was killed by his own brother. I visited his grave in 2022 when I went to South Africa, Amanzim Toti. He was fighting, he was capturing tribes. There are 12 tribes in South Africa, 7 major tribes. They all don't like the Zulus because of what Chaka the Zulu did to tribes there. He was going to build what he called the Zulu nation. And the only way you can build a Zulu nation is you have to have more population. And so for that reason, he went out and he was good at it. And he was capturing little tribes around the area. So if you ask those more Kosas and Limpopos and Zenis, if you ask them if they like the Zulus, they'll say, hell no, I don't like the Zulus. Just like the small tribes in Benin Republic don't like the Agbome people because of what they did to those small tribes. And then when the foreigners arrived was when Chaka has to, well, they've killed him at that time already by his own family members because he went rogue. So his fight is not a fight that I'm going to say he fought against any foreign invasion to protect his own people. He started first by capturing his own people, my country. Ashantis didn't fight any foreigner. They were fighting Twi people, capturing Twi people before they were calmed down. And you can go around the 300 men, the movie from the Greek movie. Yeah, 300 men who stood against the invading Athens and stopped them from taking their women as into captivity. So every culture on earth have had some people who fought against invading. The Yorubas will tell you their story, what they went through, and they captured half of my people. That's why we speak half of Yoruba in Benin and half in Nigeria. So in terms of who fought against invasion, that one is a cultural thing across the universe. The Athens, the Rome, and everything. It's not anything left behind by ancestors. It's just a human drive. If you're going to face danger, it's flight or fight. You're going to do something about it. Our ancestors didn't create that psychological response at all. So number two, you talk about community. I'll tell you the Koreans, when I lived there, from Mopo to Busan to Jeju-do, you see community where they are passing food because they also started just like Africans. They were surrounded by ocean. They don't know anything outside. They have never created anything. Rice, farming, and fishing. That's it. And so they also started that way, sharing things among themselves. When the Americans arrived here, they did the same thing. The Africans are still doing it in South Africa and many other places. So that is not something I'm going to say. People just devise ways. When you don't have any external economy, you have to do something among yourselves. It's common sense of creating what is called community. And so that it's found almost everywhere. Look, I'm simply saying, fine, you fed your family very well. It is an expected behavior anyway. You were nice to your neighbor. It's an expected behavior. You defended against invaded, expected behavior. That is not what I'm going to go around saying my ancestors left behind. I have to look at me growing up in Benin, seeing my friends die at the age of 9, 11, 10 from curable diseases, knowing very well all I'm waiting for is to catch a headache and I will die too. That when people ask me to define hunger, for me, it meant I don't remember the last time I ate and when the next food is coming. That's how I grew up. I went to Kenya and see people live in Kibera, and you say, who in the world would allow people to live in this condition? And riding in public transportations, many people around the world will not even allow their goats and dogs to ride in. So for me, what I'm seeing today is what I will talk about, not some bygone thing about my ancestors. However, I saw something that was just magnificent for me being a black kid to go around the world and hold my head high, say, I dare you to accuse me of anything, and you don't have one, just like the Koreans say to their children. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not praising. Do you know what is funny? That every February in the classrooms in America, because of Black history, they have to struggle to find something we invented. So we've told our kids that if you have never invented anything, therefore you're not smart. That's what we told them. Yes, inventions. We got to find something. We too. It's a Me Too movement of inventions. The Koreans, you know it. Until 1981, Korea has not invented one car, one electronic, one appliance, nothing. 1981. In 1988, they held the Olympics. That was when investors became interested in Korea. 1988 Olympics. By 1985, we have Daewoo. Everybody has forgotten that car. That was the first car the Koreans invented by the Sisanyong company, Daewoo. Now it is used only locally, and then it's spread. Hyundai is moving entire plant to the US this year or next. But the Koreans still don't talk about those things, LG and all that. They marry only. You've gone around the world. You'll see Japanese marry Japanese women, almost, but not Koreans. They are eugenics. They believe that they are pure because of what they didn't do. They are pure people. That's what they say they are. I believe that gave them that pride. So for me, if I'm traveling globally, Benny, what am I going to tell people? My ancestors carved mask. So fine, it's an art. Everybody has it. But we got to talk about where are we and what is it we are saying is wrong? What is wrong? That's the question I'm interested in. What is wrong? What is wrong with Africa? We keep telling our kids something is wrong. We don't like what we have. Oh, we got to move from this. A man sang a song telling all of us that we are all in mental slavery. And we bought it, CD by CD, and we are dancing to it. Would you call your own 12-year-old and say, hey, honey, by the way, you have a mental slavery? And until you emancipate yourself, you're not going to be free? No, you won't do that. But we Africans are the ones importing these negative things to tell our kids. You know how it started? It started because our grown ones, the grown ones who were there before we came, they look around. There was nothing they can tell Oladele or Nduku to say, you see, look at what we created for you. So they have to tell you, well, I couldn't do it because some guy from outside came and interrupted. So we don't look at them and think they're stupid. Kwame Nkrumah got independence in 1957. Well, he was a dictator. He built the Kwame Nkrumah Center for Ideological Studies in Winneba, Accra. In that building were 157 KGB, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, ideological writers who were his advisors. They were there until the coup happened in 1964, and some soldier threw a grenade in that building. When he realized after 3 years when he got independence from the British, oh shoot, what am I going to do with this? 3 years has passed. There's nothing he was doing to see a change in Ghana. So he has to then start a new language. Oh, by the way, guys, it's a neo-colonization. They are not gone yet. That's why I'm not able to. So he started that neo-colonization. Well, why do you celebrate independence every year, Oladele, in Nigeria? If you knew neo-colonization is a new, then why are you celebrating independence every year? And from that day, from East Africa to Central Africa to West Africa, every scholar is jumping on this word, neo-colonization. We are the scarecrow of our own children. So a child growing up in Africa keep hearing that the neo-colonials are here. They're holding us down so we don't develop. How is that child going to have any motivation? Let me do something just based on my capacity, on my ability in my neighborhood. I'm free. My people have told me I'm free.
Oladele, sorry, I have to jump in. I'm sorry, brother. Just give me a minute. Um, Explain to me, Brother Zanu, why then the Jews tell their children every day about the Holocaust and the horrific things that were done to them, but they also teach them the pride in their culture and in who they are. And the Jews have thrived, their children have thrived, their culture is sustained. So why then a community that is so gung-ho about teaching the negative things that happen to them, why is it thriving?
Oh, well, I have had the opportunity of, having a Jewish mentor, the late Dr. Richard Rubinstein, and he wrote the first book, To Bigotry, No Sanction. And I've watched Spielberg, who became the master of telling Jewish stories through movie Hollywood. I've watched a lot of his movies, Schindler's List, the boy in the striped pajama. You said Holocaust, right? Yeah, it's like Rwandans have colonization, and then they have the genocide, but they're not the same thing. Colonization happened to almost, you may say, every country. 14 Balkan countries, the Soviet Union,
Except
Australia.
Ethiopia. Except Ethiopia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So colonization is a global phenomenon. That is not a Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Holocaust. So they don't just whine about the Holocaust. They started a slogan after the Holocaust: never again. Never again. They don't teach the Holocaust the way we teach 12 years in slavery. Just show your kids how some white men whipped them for a whole 12 years in 2.5 hours.
Yes, they do. They show the I'm sorry, brother. Yes, they do. They show the burnings.
Yes,
they show hold on. They show the skinny Jews being in the camps.
Yes,
they show it
I
all.
agree with all that. The gas chambers, the death,
yes,
the mass growth. They do. But they also say that it's because we are special people. We are the chosen ones. And
no, they say it's because of Hitler. They say it's because of Hitler and the Germans. That's what they say. And they actually have made Hitler known for his horror.
It happened to us because
of Hitler. No, because of Hitler and because we were Jews and because Hitler did not like Jewish people. That's what they say.
The Greek Pharaoh didn't like Jews. Nebuchadnezzar of Baghdad, which was Babylon, didn't like Jews. European countries didn't like, Americans didn't like Jews. Westport, Connecticut, a place where I lived for 5 years, will never rent or sell to a Jew in America. So Jews went through this in many countries. So all this happened to them because we are Jews. First, before Hitler will hate us, we have to be Jews. And they say it's because we are the chosen people of Abraham and Isaac. We are special people. So at least they are telling them something for which people are hating us. So the kids first know, oh, okay, so we are special. That's why people are hating us everywhere we go. Koreans are saying the same thing.
But that's the same thing we are doing. We are saying
no colonization. No colonization is not.
Hold on.
No.
I don't care.
You're not the only one that was colonized, is what I'm trying to say. Period.
Hold on, brother. I am juxtaposing every justification you give with us. That's what I'm trying to do so that we can understand this. You're saying that they taught that they were the chosen people. We also teach good things about us, and we say that the white people and the Greeks and the Romans came to us because they saw us living this way. They have writings of praising us in how we lived, and we teach that to our children because they saw us living this way, because they saw the beauty of our lands, because we welcomed them, because we invited them and we did not see them as the enemy. This is why we end up in this situation. Come on, brother.
Look, you are saying, come on, brother, as if I've said something as a
No, you're not acknowledging the truth is my point.
Okay. No. Please. Let's go back a little. I'm from Benin Republic. I lived in Ghana. My country alone has 51 tribes. So when we say we teach our children, I don't know what the we means. Okay. My country, Benin, and I will use Benin to tell you, I've lived in Nigeria as a reporter. So I know Africa. I've lived in your country. When we say we which people in Nigeria were teaching Nigerians, whatever. The Yorubas teaching their children, the Igbos teaching their children, they all have different stories. The Igbos were throwing twins into the forest and killing each other over yam. So when in Benin, when I say we were taught, I don't know, am I talking about my tribe, or am I talking about a folk who doesn't like us? Am I talking about the northern ones? In Ghana, when you say we, are you talking about the Shantis, what they're telling their kids? I don't know the we. All right. So if everything you're saying is correct, fine. I'm not arguing with anyone. I'm just telling you, I have not seen any country, majority of countries in the world were colonized. I've not seen any place where they're telling their kids, we are being held down. It's all I said. The Jews never tell their kids, hey guys, I'm sorry. We are still being held down. We're not free.
No, they're busy bombing people so that they don't be held down. That's what they're doing. They're bombing others.
Okay.
That's what they're doing so that they're not held down.
Okay.
And that's what they're saying. Let's keep bombing them because this has been done to us. That's how they justify.
Okay.
That's what they're doing.
Yes. I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing anyone's response to anything. I'm not an authority on that one. No.
Oladele, go ahead. There's so much. I'll take over. If
yes, all right. I'm just going to dissect what you said there. When we're talking about investors into Africa, you were talking about the fact that why would they come into Africa because we're keeping yourselves down?
I don't want them there. How about that?
And this is our perspective as Africans, as Afrocentric Africans.
You say I said what?
No, you were saying about why would investors come to Africa if we keep saying negative things about ourselves? I think you said that earlier.
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
Did I say? Yeah. Okay.
It could be yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, because of the narrative and all that, so we keep saying all these things about ourselves. Which basically means that investors will never come in because we're being negative. So for us, as a Nigerian.
I'm just simply saying things that could have certain effect. I've heard people say it. Even last night, I was at a dinner with some people.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going into this little nitty-gritty of anything. I'm just look.
Okay, fair enough. I don't want to, but I have to pick on what you're saying as well. I'm just picking on what you're saying. Pardon?
I grew up in a beautiful family in Benin before we moved to Ghana. Two poor parents who were just lovely. And what they told me, what they gave me, what they said to me, it's what I hang on. If I make these observations and it's wrong, please just say it's wrong. But I don't want people to be pushing me into pigeonholes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I'm just saying what you. Okay.
Yes.
All right. This is my thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my thing. As an Afrocentric person, personally, and I'm saying it here, and people hear me say this all the time. Why can't we Africans do for ourselves? Why do we need people from the outside to come and invest in our country, knowing full well that intentions in Africa has never been upright? Okay, whenever the Caucasian comes to Africa, based on the history that we're trying to not talk about, we know what they've done to us. They've never come with good intentions. So why in 2025 would I look to the same people as a solution to my continent when we, as you a diaspora, we all over the world, we can actually more than capable of doing this for ourselves. We have everything we need apart from looking within. So why would I expect the outsiders to come and build for me when I can build for myself? That's my thought. That's my thoughts. What do you think to that? What do you say to that?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly speaking, if you believe you have everything within you can build, of course, by all means. I'm not the one to say yes, it's good or not. I don't know one single country in the world today who says, oh, we don't go out to anybody. You know, people, Trump just came from a trip. All you hear is investment in investment. Japan just celebrated another, Hyundai says, look, let's move our plant to the United States. I don't know one single country in the world today that says, except, of course, even North Korea, that became a hermit country. It has to now create a whole division of smugglers who can still go out and buy the things they've been sanctioned and, not to be able to trade. They have a huge department in North Korea that can get them thermostat, liquid, and that's why they've been able to. So if any country says we can be on our own, just be within and build, that's fine, of course, why not? But if you're asking me a question, and for all the things you said, I don't know any of those things. I don't. And that's honest. I don't.
So,
Because sorry, Enrico, the perspective is,
I'll
you know
just
what,
ask
no
you,
country. Yeah.
why for this long time, almost close to 70 years, you believe you've looked around and you have all these things that can make you self-reliant? I'm not the one to ask you, and you ask me. I'm not in power, and you're not in power. Why have you continued insisting and relying on investment? Every
And that's
day,
the
conference in Dubai by Dubaians. Every conference, I've attended 2 of them in the last 5 years. Dubaians are begging on their knees for investment, investment, investment. So I don't know why your country, my country, have not been able to cut away, but I know, I saw it. I interviewed some of them who attempted this, let's go it our way, and they run the country to the ground. Zimbabwe was the first one. Nationalize everything. Benin Republic, I promise you, except those in the villages. But when I look back, Benin Republic was thriving. The best fire department they had is schools. They were brilliant, everything. Restaurants, the beaches, the hotels, everything was going fine. A military guy took over and he nationalized everything and he ran the country to the ground. Nigeria was our life wire. We would have burned down that country. Then we go to Eyadema of Togo, took a beautiful country that was nicknamed Petit Paris, which is Togo. The capital was Lomé. Ghanaians go to Togo and come home as if they went to England. He nationalized everything. He said, we are not going to deal with Europe. We are going to be able. And he ran down the country. Togo is complete disarray today. So I've seen an attempt made by many African countries that said, we can do it ourselves. And they nationalize everything and run the country into the gutter. That I've seen. So I'm not to speak to why you have everything and you can deal.
Okay, I'm just another thought because I saw your comments. Okay, so what would you say to the current what's going on in the Sahel region at the moment in terms of Chiani, Goita, and Traore in terms of what they're trying to do? So what are your thoughts about that?
Okay,
because based on what you just said, they're saying that they don't want the West. They can build this. Obviously, they're building their own alliances. That's going to suit them. But what do you say to them?
So I was in, I think, was it Korea or somewhere I was, when I rushed home to interview Thomas Sankara in 1984, 6 months after he was blown away. And 45 minutes into the interview, I said, oh, Lord, we are in trouble. So what you're seeing, Thomas Sankara, his role model was J.J. Rawlings, John Jerry Rawlings of Ghana. If social media was there when Rawlings did what he did in Ghana, let me tell you, bro, they would have made him a pope. So what Rawlings did is what Thomas Sankara copied. A president who took off his shirt and claimed, because Ghana, Accra was piled with trash. The government had no money. Trucks were broken down. Trash everywhere. When he did it, every young person, every Saturday, until Rawlings fainted and they picked him by chopper. He worked, sweat, and he fainted. Then he went to the harbor. A ship has arrived from Brazil, 2 huge ships, but no workers because Ghanaians couldn't pay workers, no food to eat. In 1984, there was starvation in Ghana. He loaded rice off ship. He ignited, they nicknamed him Junior Jesus because his name was J.J., John Jerry Rawlings. They nicknamed him Junior Jesus. The only thing was because there was no social media. He also nationalized things in Ghana, and Ghana had a starvation. Farming for a whole 3 years. People died. And we flew to Nigeria. We all flew to Nigeria. So today, then after that, they started ECOWAS. 12 or 14 countries said, you know what? We all together, we can build this region. Well, you know, Oladele, how long ago was ECOWAS? 14 brains. Now, some of them are living it saying, we're not getting anything. But when you were there, why didn't you bring what you got? So everything you're seeing today in Burkina Faso and all these has all been tried by Rawlings, by Kerekou of Togo, of Benin, by Eyadema of Togo, Mobutu of Gaddafi. They've all tried it. These are just newcomers. Number two, you said what they are doing. I don't know what they are doing. I haven't read anything. Ibrahim overthrew a 9-month-old regime. 9 months. 9 months. How can you accuse anybody who hasn't even built a cabinet yet in 9 months, right? He overthrew. But Burkina Faso from President Lamine Zana, who was the independent president, until today has been, if you would call it, the Guinness Book of coup d'etat. So another 36-year-old in military fatigue, all provided by the French, is saying, well, I'm going to do what everyone has tried, and it went south painfully. So I don't know what you mean by, what do I say about what they are doing? I don't know what they are doing. I haven't read his maiden address. What did Traoré say is wrong? I haven't read it. Who is his cabinet?
But the thing is, like, my brother, you seem to think that the Western systems ideally are better off than us Africans trying to build our own Afrocentric systems. That's what I'm kind of listening to what you're saying. You're not saying it, but in terms,
I just responded to what you mean by we can be on.
Yeah, I know. It just like, it feels like that's what's coming across, though.
No, I'm saying, but then why haven't Nigeria been on its own? Why? Look, I can only answer the question. Yeah,
so good question.
You said we have enough to be on our own.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy I can go home now and they will ask me to be some teacher because we have everything. We have our own curriculums. We can publish our own textbooks. We can open up. I will go home and work.
Okay, the next, sorry, Nduku, before you go. So my next question to you will be, how do we then build as Africans to make Africa work?
It's not working?
Yeah, based on what's going on, it's not working at the moment. So how do we make it work?
Okay.
Africa's not working. We had this conversation before we started. Things are messy. So how do we make it work? We need solutions.
Oh, first I have to know. I have to know why it is not working. What do you mean?
Okay, can you tell us why Africa's not working based on your experience?
I never said that.
I know you didn't say that, but can you tell us?
Right.
I know you didn't.
Let me
I have to agree with you that Africa is not working. I have to first ask you, please show me.
And he doesn't, clearly.
That I have seen someone, and I can say you are losing weight because once upon a time you were at this size. So when was Africa not what it is for you to say it's not working? First, that's what I need. Then I can advance the conversation.
All right. So I'm gonna go on, brother. Africa is not working. First of all, for all of you who are listening today, I'm going to ask you today. I will ask you to subscribe to Kumbukeni, to subscribe to the Imagine Alkebulan, to share those two channels, and as you listen to those channels, you'll hear me talk of others, Kimbunga, all the channels that you need to subscribe and follow. Subscribe and share them with everyone that you know that is Amwana Ubuntu, a Black person, an African. And for those of you who are listening today, I urge you, if you can, to get this book, When We Ruled, by Robin Walker, so that you can see the evidence of what our ancestors left us, of all the amazing things that we have done, so that we can remember who we are, because we have been interrupted. Africa right now is not working. We're not producing our own food. We have people who are angry. My brother Zanu just gave us an example of Kibera, where people are living in a horrible way. There's a history there. We've covered it in Kumbukeni. The British brought people from outside. They brought them to Kibera. They built an encampment there. Those people were supposed to control the Kenyans and do the bidding of the British. That's how Kibera starts. Why is Africa the way it is? Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Get that book. Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins, or go to Kumbukeni and find the broadcast where we covered Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Why is Africa not working today? The Secret History of the American Empire by John Perkins. We have covered that on Kumbukeni. Go watch that. Why is Africa not working today? Chancellor Williams, his book, Oladele, remind me what it's called.
development, deconstruction of African civilization. Give me a second.
Yes, the deconstruction of African civilizations by
by Chancellor Williams.
He gives evidence, not just talk, not just intellectual blubbering. He gives evidence of why we were interrupted. How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. Read that book. You will see what evidence has been laid there. Here is the thing. We see evidence today that when we invite investors, they come to exploit. They do not give to us. It is evident because, for example, a country like Kenya that has all those Western investors in Kenya, why is Kenya not thriving for all? Right? These investors come, they take the resources, including our people, the labor, and they move the money to their countries. That evidence is in Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He was part of those people who are sent out to do this. So there's a reason why Africa is not the way it is. The Jews are not experiencing that. The Jews are not interrupted by the United States. The Jews are not interrupted by the UK. They're the chosen ones, and they're protected by these countries. So anyone who tries to mess with them is the enemy. So the Jews can thrive. Dubai is not being interrupted the way Africa is being interrupted. So they can thrive. Korea, what's it called? The other one that people always like to bring up as look at how well they're doing. One of the Asian countries there, it starts with an S.
South Korea. Oh yeah, another way. Singapore.
There's a history, there's record of it, of how the United States allowed them to hold on. No, brother, hold on. How the United States allowed them to have a market. I know, so please, I get that.
I did not come in to be lectured.
No, I'm not lecturing you.
I can then give you my response.
I'm not lecturing you. I am informing the people. If you're feeling lectured, you have to figure out why that is. I'm informing out the people. Singapore got access to the markets in the United States. China got access to the markets in the United States. There's a part where it shows the president of the United States decides to partner with China. There was a period, and that's where China takes advantage, and they build their market slowly while the US is acting all arrogant. There's evidence of the interruption of African people, even those who were brought here in their communities, redlining. Their schools, I'm currently in the education field, their schools don't get the same resources. You have white teachers teaching black children, and they have unions, so you cannot fire them. You cannot fire them and hire black children in the system of education in the United States. You have the CIA bringing drugs in black communities, bringing guns, and bringing them when they have reduced that community to a place of desperation, so that they don't know their worth. When they have reduced those communities to a point of not valuing their own lives, then they bring the poison and they destroy those communities. The same on our continent. They brought disease. They still bring disease. So it is not because... My problem, brother Zanu, is that you're not representing truth, that you're not representing the full picture, and that you are denying a great people their greatness. Like, you have taken on the role of the colonizer, just like that, and are doing exactly what they do. You are who we are fighting. You're pushing false narratives. That's who we're fighting. You appear in our skin, but it is you that we are fighting because you're not representing the truth. I'm done.
All right. So there were two things that I tried to explain a couple of weeks. I had an episode that has not been launched yet, and it is very easy. I'll tell you the truth, and I really concur with Nduku. It is very easy that when people listen to the way I conduct my discussions about things around me and from my continent, that it can easily, of course, lead to me being called the great representative of the colonizer. So if Oladele believe that, or Ndugu, you guys believe that I should explain what I think we have never touched on, then I could. And I don't take offense at all, Ndugu, but in my podcast, I try hard that I will never in any shape or form attack any of my guests. And I think we should try never to do that. There are two types of colonization, and I think we forgot how we were colonized. The two types of colonization is the one South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, and other countries. That's one type. That one type means people have put together a country, and then a foreign force comes and takes over the existing country, like what the United Union of Soviet Socialist Republic did to the 14 countries in the Balkan. When that colonization is over, the people knew where they were before they were colonized. That's the people formed a country, self-determination. They just go back to what they were doing. The other type of colonization happened to one particular continent, which is no country was colonized, meaning there were no countries formed. And by country, what the United Nations and that the people had come together and agreed this will be our borders and our country, with a flag, national anthem, national constitution, political system. People came and hand designed, forcefully forcing a group of people, and then plant a flag on them and then give a name to that place. So those are the two different types of colonization. In nowhere would you find any place that was once colonized the way the Caribbean and Africa was colonized and has been able to thrive. So that is what I'm slowly trying to draw people's attention to. That is the only thing that went wrong that we need to first discuss and say, how do we go back? Let me repeat, the two types of colonization. And maybe because our schools didn't teach our type, they thought it was the same. One is when a country is already formed by the people who live in it, having a self-determination, a language, a political system, a hierarchy, and then you come and colonize it. It's like sitting on a balloon. When you get up, it will just inflate itself back to where it was, as compared to a place that was not a country. Tribes independently. Don't compare it to anyone else. They were doing the best they can in their own way, enjoying their traditions and customs in their own way. They suddenly wake up one day and somebody forcefully said, this area shall belong to me. So now these tribes who have distinct languages, cultures, traditions, history, language are now together. The analogy I gave is this. 3 white guys took a plane that can take up to 400 people. They went somewhere in Africa and they loaded a plane with 400 people. So consider that to be colonization. People from different tribes who don't even speak each other's language. Mid-air, the colonized people succeeded throwing all the white guys off board. Then they turn around and they ask each other, does anyone know how to pilot a plane? We are stuck in the air, my friends. That is all. And it will go on and on. Haiti, I've been there twice. I had a Haitian guest in the episode that is going to be airing soon. And I said, what do Haitians speak? He said, Creole. I said, no. When you were arriving on the island from Africa, what he said, I don't know. We never know. We can't remember. Okay, then what do you speak? He said, Creole. So Creole is just about 120 years old, which means painfully a bunch of different African tribal languages with a little bit of Spanish and French forged itself to become Creole. So I asked him, in what language do Haitians innovate? The Yorubas were very organized. It is in history. Oduduwa, the dynasty. They had Yoruba language with proverbs and deep thinking. They were organized, women's role, men's role, younger people's role. It was the only very organized based on one thing only, language and history. Suddenly they woke up one day, this massive dynasty is now part of another 211 different languages they cannot even speak. The question is, in what language do Nigerians innovate? My problem, brother and sister, my problem is all the things you listed, Nduku. It's correct. The books you listed, Walter and all this, they all wrote based on, yes, what could make common sense to you when you watch the whole phenomena, but nobody remembered how we became countries. And that airplane is, so I can sound anyhow. People can attack me all they want. I am just interested in the questions to the answers. That's all.
And I'm not attacking you, brother, right? The other correction
No, you
before I
did.
get
Please,
into it.
please, please, please. I don't want to go back. You did. Call me names straight here, and it's fine with me. Let's not go back. I just said something from where all these my questions.
Is there a mute
That's
button,
why
Oladele?
let's go on and start talking about what we are capable of. We, and I always ask the Africans when I speak in person, live audience, who is the we? Who is the we? That's my problem. When I was in Kenya.
Both myself and Oladele are Pan-Africanists. Brother, I let you speak. I did not interrupt you, right? So let's do that. Another correction I wanted to make is that Nkrumah did a lot for 10 years. I gave 2 books in the chat. The Struggle Continues and Africa Must Unite. Evidence of Nkrumah doing a lot for Ghana. Ghana's development starts with Nkrumah. Rawlings inherits Nkrumah's work, right? It is interrupted by who's the person who took over after Nkrumah the coup happened. It's interrupted by them because they're following the Western. They're doing the Western's bidding so that Ghana can be the progress can be disrupted, right? So, and Sankara, as much as you want to say he copied Rawlings, I have no problem. You know, when you say he copied Rawlings, it has a negative connotation. He was inspired by Rawlings. That's a positive way to put that out. I have no problem with a brother being inspired by another to be an upright person. And I applaud, as we remember Sankara this weekend and honor his centennial, I applaud him for being inspired by Rawlings. But guess what Sankara does? In 4 years, he builds Burkina Faso from scratch. He educates the women. There were high percentage of women uneducated, educates them. He starts teaching the people how to build for themselves. The people come together, inspired by Sankara.
I realize please. That this invitation is for me to be educated, and I don't mean to be rude, but Nkrumah did a lot for Ghana, but you wouldn't point to anything he did. And I'm not going to be here challenging what you think Nkrumah did, what Sankara did. It's difficult when you keep saying what you know. This is why I hardly like to debate or go on with people who have published books, because then they become like Jehovah's Witnesses. They're never going to change. They have to defend what they have written, even if it's 30, 45, 50 years ago. When Walter said Europe underdeveloped.
Oladele, mute our guest, please.
It means that Africa was developed.
Let him
develop. So if this is going to be a lecture, Oladele has been quite what
I'm sorry, I had to mute him. All right, because he interrupted. I'm sorry. We're not doing that, Oladele. I am speaking and giving evidence of what has been done. So I'm sorry. I am sorry. He cannot do that. All right. So Sankara taught his people to come together and build railway tracks. Like, I was literally on that line when he interrupted. Literally giving an example. Railway tracks. Coming together and putting the railway tracks together. I'm not here to argue with Brother Zanu. Like I said, I tried to find a way of understanding. I'm here to correct false narratives. Right? I'm here. That's okay. He needed to. I was going to remove him, but he needed to go, because we cannot uphold false narratives. And when he's attacking us, we're not being as defensive as he's being, right? We're not taking it personal. I'm here trying to say, I'm not attacking you, brother. I'm attacking the way you're moving. I'm attacking what you're doing. And I'm telling you that what you're doing is similar to what the colonialist is doing. That's what I'm saying. And because I'm seeing black in you, brother, I'm allowing you to continue to talk. That's the respect I'm giving you. Despite me, even before coming on this, disagreeing with you, I said, let me hear our brother out. So it's not you I attack, it is what you're doing I am attacking, which is absolutely wrong. You're misrepresenting. And to minimize what Walter did, to minimize
it's
that,
basically because I'm trying to hear. I want to this Indigo. I just wanted to hear him because basically this is all recorded. So
but
it's something.
also after we hear so much, we have to stop it because we are allowing the poison to come into the community. We, as responsible people who are countering false narratives, have to stop it. There's a point we have to say, enough is enough, brother. We wish you all the best. And yes, I am educating you. Nkrumah did shit. Because clearly you need educating. You don't know that. You didn't say it. You undermined Nkrumah. So I got to educate you. Sorry, my sister. Aye. Go on, brother. Let's close this nicely.
Okay,
questions.
guys.
Go through the chat. Questions. People like.
He's not articulating.
Come here, Nwari. Come. Please come here.
So basically, guys, just in conclusion today, we brought this brother.
Join us.
Okay, we brought this brother on basically to give us. Obviously, I've listened to him, I've heard what he said, and I've heard some controversial stuff on there, and that's basically why I brought him, because I want to hear a different perspective. But unfortunately, based on what we've seen so far, I think it's more Negro-European than African. Sadly, from what he's saying. And I think the background basically says everything. But sadly, we do apologize, but we need to hear different perspectives, and that's why I brought him on, because I wanted to hear what he had to say. So and Nwari, what do you have to say, my brother?
Hey, can you repeat the last part you said?
Repeat what you said. I had the headphones on. He couldn't hear you.
I couldn't hear anything.
Basically, what I said is basically, I wanted to hear his perspective. I heard exactly what he was saying, what he spoke about. He said some good things, but the reason why I brought him on is simply because he was saying, okay, we've gone through all these challenges. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? But unfortunately, that got lost in the whole thing. So because I didn't hear that, because basically it kept belittling our history, which I didn't like to hear.
Yeah, he well, there was two videos Ndugu was playing earlier, and so when I was listening to him, I was thinking to myself, he's more or less articulating generic rhetoric in regards to his views. So I assume, okay, when he gets on here, I want to hear how what points he articulates. And when you're doing that, especially when you have what I hear is like a scathing account on the amount of life that has been lost over centuries. I need you, for me personally, I need you to, now you have to specify chronology, times, dates, places, specifics on historical evidence documents and primary and empirical evidence. If just for me, right? I don't know about anybody else, but to change because for so many times, so for example, a broad-based understanding of, for example, the civil rights movement and Rosa Parks, and how when you understand everything behind what got her on that bus, it gives you clarity that she wasn't a person that even was supposed to be on the bus. Once you get into the annals of what happened in each step of that civil rights movement, from not just year to year, week to week, and month to month. So anytime there's these points that's made in history, the big names, and that's how I explain it to my students, there's several names that could have replaced that person, right? There's several events that could have replaced that event. And in real scholarship, you have to be able to articulate those points, right? And I'm waiting for that. And I just keep hearing a lot of so I can tell that he has a gauge on a historical narrative with some kind of chronology. But this is the danger that, and I made a point in the YouTube, I don't know, I made a point that Tariq Nasheed here in the Americas, as he's creating a lot of divisiveness amongst the Caribbeans, Africans, and African Americans, he's specifically talking about these people. I don't like the way that Tariq Nasheed is going about this for people who's familiar with him and his rhetoric, his anti-Caribbean and African rhetoric. But he enlightened a lot of people that this is what's happening in high corporate levels and politics and government, because we have to deal as African Americans deal with people that's already like this. And now when other people come from other countries piling on and you're fighting for reparations and just civilian rights from constant systemic murder, forget everything else about politics and this oppression, just the murder of, your people, your direct family, all right, from, centuries to now. Then if you're going to try to create a kind of narrative, it has to be, I'm talking about down to the minute for me, dates, times, people, places, because there's a lot of people that I held as heroes. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, right? That we pulled down the statue in Ghana, but the general narrative was this man who's fighting for the oppression of the oppressed. He's fighting for the rights of the oppressed. And then you find out a lot of these narratives and different things. And then you read, some direct quotes. And you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I need to hear, right? If you're saying Kwame Nkrumah or whoever, then who did he undermine? All right, who did he get set up and killed? That was a Pan-Africanist revolutionary, and he had another agenda. Like, I need you to say that. I need you to send me to the book so I can read it, maybe even cross-reference it. I don't have a lot of time. I got a lot of finals degree, but I'm just saying overall, if you have that counter narrative, I need dates, times, I need everything. And there was just a lot of anti-collective rhetoric that is very dangerous to the viewers of the platform, as well as, just casual person who casually comes on or whatever. So, that's what I would have needed for him, because I would have let him, for me, and I get why we get angry, but I would have let him speak.
Yeah, because I wanted him to carry on anyway, because I wanted to hear him out. We invited him, so I know.
You gotta let him keep going. So there's always
because I just wanted to speak, because it's good to hear this perspective. For me, it's a lesson.
Exactly, because the whole time I'm thinking, one thing about my documentary, there's a guy that comes on there. He's a Hebrew Israelite. He's very anti-genetic African, Pan-Africanist, and all this. But it's an opposing view. I have several opposing views, and I totally don't agree with. But
the thing is, I was angry in some things he was saying, but don't forget, there's a lot of Africans who think the way he does.
Yes,
exactly.
And we have to hear them talk, so we can actually know how to navigate and move. We need to know these things.
Yeah,
because for me, I see it as a perspective.
Exactly. I wasn't angry for the video. I totally disagree with the points he was making. Listening to videos that Ndugu was listening to before you guys got on.
Yeah.
But then, like I just said earlier, a second ago, I'm waiting for points to make in regards to what for us is a counter narrative to Pan-Africanism. And I wasn't hearing, I was just hearing generals. Even in those generals,
there was ambiguity. One of the people said a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah. Even
intentional ambiguity.
That's where it's dangerous.
And then you know what, Umar Ndugu, I think this is basically where this is where he's provocative. It's basically, I think this is what he does. It's easy to drive questions, because I've seen him do it in his platform, and this is basically what he does.
So here's the thing.
Say that again. What you said? What the questions that he dropped? Say that again.
It basically, what he does, he creates this kind of provocative actions to get solutions, to get narrative from people, because that's why he does the project Rethink. That's basically how he sets things up.
So that's kind of
That's okay.
That is for me exactly. Like if you're a provocateur, because like so I make this statement all the time. A couple of statements I make. I always say that blacks are the most and can be the most anti-black people, you know, in amongst the diaspora. We can be very anti-black. I'll make statements like, "Hey, I understand the Ku Klux Klan." You know what I'm saying? Which is a far left, whatever. But in regards to them protecting who they are, me feeling like we need to protect who we are. So if I make a broad, provocative statement like, "Hey, I understand the Ku Klux Klan," you're like, "What the hell?"
And you don't break it up.
Yeah, but you don't. So a context around that, meaning that for me, not to say I would do the same thing to them, but what I'm saying is I understand, you know, you want to uphold your narrative of your people. So I want to hold my narrative of my people. If you read the philosophy and opinions of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, he meets with Klan members. You know what I'm saying? He meets with the imperial wizard, you know, to have this discussion. Hey, you don't rock with us. We don't rock with you. This is what we can work things out. Hey, I love you. Don't rock with me. Hey, I don't rock with you either. So let's stay separate. And as we build this, you do you, I'll do me. I thought that he's I'm not gonna say Jim, but that was great. All right. So this is what I was expecting from him. If you're gonna have this provocative comments, you don't have to be Pan Africanist, but at least for me,
make it make sense.
I think hopefully we've all learned lessons from this experience. Anyway, I hope we've learned. Yeah, I hope we learned because we're gonna have guests on who are not gonna speak the way we speak and stuff.
Again, we didn't need him to speak the way we speak. We needed him to explain why he was speaking the way he was, right? And we were using evidence. But here's the thing, right? And we as a community, because I'm seeing some comments here, how can we peacefully respect each other's perspective, right? Me muting him was wrong. I am telling you, we are hosting a show. Like, if he was on a Western platform, he'd be off and commercial would be on. So that you all tell me muting him was wrong. I'm telling you all what happens. I don't hold on real quick, Oladile, because it needs to be talked about, right? We are very docile when it comes to what is done to us and how we need to defend it. And when we defend it, it is we attacking each other. No, it is okay to have conflict. It's okay to have conflict. We are human beings with different experiences, different education, different upbringings. We will have conflict. Let's allow it. Let's allow it in community, because through conflict we learn. There are a lot of lessons that have been learned today. We allowed him to speak. He put out false narratives. I started speaking to correct the false narratives. He interrupted me and went on, even after I asked him to be quiet. I therefore muted him so that I could continue giving the evidence. He left. If he had stayed, he would have been unmuted and allowed to speak. So I have, and it's not arrogance. That's logic, right? I am passionate. I am not angry. And I am very defensive of our people. And I'm very anti-poisonous actions that are going to harm our people. And that's what this brother is doing. And the sad thing is he's appearing to be one of us while he's doing the bidding of the enemy. Whether he knows it or not, it could be subconscious. He may not have been told, go do this. He may just have been so indoctrinated by Western culture, and because he said the United States is the place he has lived the longest.
Well, the points that he's making, like, are global civilization points to make a point, meaning that you have this many indigenous groups and ethnocentrism, people who are very ethnocentric about their culture and who they are, and go to war with each other. But what you're not, what you're leaving out is a different type of systemic war directly on indigenous people. Everyone has ethnocentrism and have gone, because even when you were talking about the whole Zulu narrative and the South African narrative,
like Shaka Zulu did not fight white people, and you all want us to sit here and accept that?
Yeah,
for real?
Yeah. So, and if Shaka Zulu is trying to ban, because I'm pretty sure he at that point he had some type of awareness of what was coming, meaning to ban these ethnic tribes together, irregardless if it happened before. You know, that's what they did. He wanted to make a big ban, and he probably, in none of these situations is there a correct way to do it, to build a nation bigger. We understand that globally. But now when you say, you were saying that he
didn't fight white people.
It wasn't fighting against.
Yeah, I saw your comments, Umare. I did see your comments there.
Yeah, because it doesn't allow you to type so many characters. So it was kind of discontinued.
The Maxim gun being used against, who the hell invented the Maxim gun if not white people?
Anyway, guys, let's run this up.
But hold on, 3 things I'm gonna say for me. Him not acknowledging that Mzungu is a criminal for everything they've done, that the United States was criminal.
I did ask him that.
The Americas, right? Him not acknowledging that Nkrumah did a lot of work. Him actually taking away from that. That was wrong, and it had to be corrected. And there's a third one, you just said it right now, but I forget now. My point is, we have to be okay with stopping people who are doing harm. We have to be okay with that. We have to be comfortable with it. It's uncomfortable to do what I did, but it was necessary so that we can not allow, again, look at it as a well, and someone is pouring poison in the well, and that is the well for the community. You best believe I will come and cut their throat and put them to the side so that I can serve our water. You best believe I will do that. And whether you criticize me or not, it is necessary for us to preserve who we are and our narrative. This is what we are doing. And someone asked, that's the last thing. Who is the enemy? The enemy to us is anyone who stands by the false narrative of white supremacy. The enemy to us is anyone, including those who look like that, who uphold that false narrative of white supremacy. Why? Because it is used, because we are not white. We are the opposite of white, to show that we are inferior. That's the enemy. The enemy is anyone who is taking Black lives as if they don't matter. The enemy is anyone who threatens Black lives, African lives. That's the enemy. The enemy is anyone who's coming to take our source of food, our source of health, good health, our source of shelter. Anyone who prevents us from having free access to food, free access to knowledge, free access to shelter, free access to well-being is our enemy. That's who the enemy is. And anyone who helps them in doing so is the enemy as well, knowingly helps them. Because we have a lot of unknowing, miseducated. That's okay. But once you know and the brother knows, that's the thing that is the offense here. He knows, because as I was pulling up the books, he knew them, but he said they were trash, essentially. So then you're the enemy. I'm sorry. Oladile.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging on with us. It's one of those where we're not always going to agree on what we came to talk about. It happens. It's going to happen. That's basically why we've got the platform to talk about things like this. Uncomfortable conversations, but it has to be had. And today was one of those days. So yeah, we move. So guys, we'll see you next one. On the next one, and have a nice evening.
Tomorrow we celebrate Malcolm, his 100 years of what did Malcolm leave us? What did the ancestors leave us? What did Malcolm leave us?
By any means necessary. Yeah.
And Malcolm told us that we need to unite, both the diaspora and those of
any means necessary, we need to unite, guys.
So be well.
All right, thanks guys. I'll speak to you soon.
All right.